The total collapse of 2013. This is when the entire government goes, there are no businesses left, no grocery stores, and at this point, their kind of cooperation of Jay and Snikes starts really doing well. And they join in with Neo America, selling for a huge profit. So Jay and Snipes are officially not the owners of Indoxia anymore, but they still live in it, which means that they both had to rise to the occasion when the city dwellers attacked. So what happened with this is there was a bunch of people living in the city, and when reality kind of collapsed in on them, they didn't respond well. And so they would just kind of roam the land, taking whatever they could and consuming it immediately. Because if they had anything that was like physical, then they would be violently and viciously attacked, and that would be taken away from them, and they would be attacked and that would be taken away from them. And so they would all pretty much roam around with nothing, consuming whatever they could get their hands on. But they mainly came in waves, so once Indoxia, now Neo America, fended them off, they didn't have to worry about that. And so, at this point, Jay, Snipes, and his siblings are all living together. And that's when the Russians attack. A Russian sneaks into his home, waking Jay. He doesn't have any weapons, he left his somewhere, so he grabs a decremental sword that was laying nearby, and goes to kill Snipes' brother Laz in his sleep. Jay, being awake, quickly runs up and catches the sword in his hand. This was, of course, extremely painful, and Jay was not very strong, so the sword came down, gouging him in the eye, but he still stood strong. At this point, Snipes and his sister Liz wake up, and they had decided a while ago that if they ever had to, then they would both bite a person that was trying to harm them with one tooth. And so they decide in that moment to use that plan, and they kill the guy that was attacking Jay, the Russian soldier. They immediately rush Jay to hospital, and this is where he blacks out. He wakes up several days later with a strange drink in his hand. Oh, it's the Dr. Show origin story! And it happened on the Studio 88 show, and not yours. Have I effectively communicated that I don't like you by now? Anyways, Jay asks a nearby nurse what it is, and she says it's Dr. Shoe, of course. Then Jay and the nurse start talking about Dr. Shoe and other things, and eventually they start to date. But fortunately, this part of the story wasn't developed much on, because Snipes' story would have been important for when Snipes died, and the effects of the relationship Jay had with the nurse would be important for his starting of his business empire. So we're just going to skip over that. Just know that the nurse died. And now Jay is a little different. Because you see, before, Jay was pretty caring and wasn't really in a good spot to run the business part of the businesses Jay and Snipes were involved in, because he had too much of a good heart. For this, he was better at building things and working behind the scenes to do stuff like that. Now he was completely ruthless, and he starts his next business venture utilizing a technology he built for his community back in the very beginning, and that is crystal technology. You see, in this universe, there are these things called crystals that hold a big amount of power inside of them. The only thing is that to access the power, you have to have a special metal connecting to something with intent to use the abilities. And both the crystals and the metal are pretty hard to find. So Jay starts this new business, and what you do is you go in, and it's kind of like a theater, and they have different segments. there's a segment where they tell about news and then weather and crops and stuff, because by now America is an agriculture society feeding Russia. And so you go into that, you get a little bit of information and a little bit of entertainment inside this nice, either air-conditioned or heated building that still has electricity because of the crystal generators. Anyways, eventually Jay regrows his conscience, and he starts hiring people who may not be the best for their positions, but they're people Jay knows and likes. One of these people is Nutshell, who completely takes over most of the company, loses the entire theater half of it to where he only controls the news side of it, while Jay and his group is left with Studio 88, the entertainment part of it, just barely making it by, because Jay is pretty much business numb at this point and just hires people because it is the right thing to do. And that is the entire Studio 88 history up until the events of the show. See y'all next time. I hope you liked it. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. God bless all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. It's an adventure.